Listen to the sound of the barcode scanner at the upscale organic grocery store. That sharp digital beep. It's the soundtrack of the modern illusion. The man standing at the register, let's call him Ethan, is wearing a $400 minimalist jacket. He casually taps his titanium credit card against the terminal to pay for $80 worth of artisanal water and grass-fed beef. He steps out into the parking lot, hits the button on his key fob, and the lights of an $85,000 electric SUV flash in recognition. To the high school kid bagging his groceries, Ethan is the absolute picture of success. He has won the game, but the kid doesn't see the math. The kid doesn't see the silent panic attack Ethan had at 3 in the morning when his banking app notified him about the upcoming property tax bill. Ethan makes $160,000 a year, and he is completely, irrecoverably broke. Not the kind of broke where you sleep on a friend's couch. This is the new, dangerous kind of poverty. He is premium broke. He is a high-income earner who has meticulously engineered his own financial suffocation, signing contract after contract to ensure that every single dollar he makes is immediately surrendered to a bank, a dealership, or a subscription service. Ethan's titanium card is basically a life support machine for his ego. His electric SUV requires a monthly payment of $1,200 plus a brutal insurance premium. His luxury apartment in the trendy downtown district consumes 50% of his take-home pay. He doesn't own his lifestyle. He rents it from a system that feeds on his desperate need to be perceived as wealthy. He is a financial hostage suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. He loves his captor because his captor gave him a status symbol to post online. We live in a bizarre era. By the year 2026, the performance of wealth has become completely divorced from the possession of it. The aesthetic of success has been weaponized by an industry designed to keep you on the treadmill until you die. The algorithm has trained an entire generation to believe that if you aren't wearing the logo, driving the European import, and broadcasting your consumption to avoid of strangers on the internet, you don't exist. Society has normalized the absolute absurdity of borrowing money at 9% interest to buy depreciating metal, just so the guy in the lane next to you, a guy you will never speak to, thinks you have a high net worth. Think about the psychological sickness of that transaction. You are literally trading the finite hours of your one and only life, dealing with a toxic corporate environment, just to pay the interest on a cage you bought to impress people you actively dislike. And the system loves this. The banking infrastructure is designed to reward this exact behavior. They hand you the bait, and you walk right into the mousetrap, convinced you're the one in control because the trap has a leather interior and a panoramic sunroof. Meanwhile, true capital, the kind of money that generates generational leverage, is hiding. It's camouflaged. While Ethan is bleeding his cash flow dry to look rich at a traffic light, the actual millionaire is driving a 10-year-old Japanese sedan, wearing an unbranded T-shirt, and watching his index funds compound in the dark. The true elite realized something terrifying about the modern world. Looking rich is no longer a flex. Looking rich is a liability. It puts a target on your back. It signals to every corporation, every marketer, and every algorithm that you are a willing victim, ready to be separated from your equity in exchange for a hit of fake digital dopamine. The people who actually hold the power in 2026 have actively chosen to look poor. They have embraced invisibility. But to understand why the wealthiest individuals are desperately trying to blend in with the working class, you have to look at the exact mechanism the middle class uses to destroy itself. You have to understand the vanity tax. And once you see how much this performance is truly costing you in unrecoverable years of your life, you can never unsee it. Let's dissect the architecture of this invisible prison. You don't wake up one day and decide to bankrupt yourself for a logo. It's a gradual, calculated grooming process engineered by the mass luxury sector. They know exactly how tired you are. You log 45 hours a week under fluorescent lights, navigating office politics, answering emails at dinner, bleeding your youth into a corporate spreadsheet. By Friday night, your psychological defenses are completely shattered. The system detects this exhaustion and whispers a very specific lie into your ear. You deserve a reward. Phase 1. The premium broke disease. Modern consumerism is not about acquiring utility. It is the desperate purchase of temporary anesthesia to numb the pain of a mediocre existence. You don't buy the $1,000 smartphone because it makes better calls. You buy it because sliding that glass slab onto the restaurant table is a microtransaction of dominance. It is the vanity tax. You are paying a 600% markup for the privilege of signaling to the waiter that you are not at the bottom of the food chain. But the irony is suffocating. By paying that tax, you guarantee your place at the bottom. You are a lab rat hitting the dopamine lever, trading the actual equity of your future for the digital cheese of social validation. But the vanity tax goes much deeper than the retail price. In the year 2026, looking wealthy triggers a predatory sequence you don't even know is happening. The moment you start broadcasting your manufactured high-end lifestyle online, the algorithmic surveillance grid locks onto your profile. They track the geolocations of the upscale cafes you tag. They analyze the brand of the watch on your wrist, and then the trap tightens. Phase 2. The target on your back. The digital economy operates on dynamic extraction. Once the machine categorizes you as an aspirational spender, a consumer desperate to appear affluent, your digital environment changes. The insurance algorithms quote you higher premiums. The targeted ads stop showing you discounts and start showing you financing options for things you can't afford. You become the perfect prey. A walking, talking profit margin for the financial matrix, because they know with absolute certainty that you will swallow any predatory interest rate just to keep the expensive performance going. This is why the true millionaires of this decade have completely vanished from the aesthetic radar. They looked at the board and realized that displaying wealth is the equivalent of walking through a dark alley with stacks of cash taped to your chest. When you look rich, every contractor quotes you double for a kitchen repair. Every financial advisor tries to siphon a management fee. Every distant relative suddenly has a revolutionary startup idea they need you to fund. Visibility in a financially desperate society is not a privilege. It is a tactical era of catastrophic proportions. The actual elite understand that anonymity is the ultimate luxury. They don't want the VIP table. They want the power to buy the entire nightclub in cash and then shut it down just so they can sleep in peace. They wear plain, unbranded clothing and drive stubbornly unremarkable vehicles because camouflage is the only armor that protects their compounding cash flow from the parasitic nature of modern society. But the illusion is powerful. You might still be thinking that a $1,200 car loan is just the cost of doing business, a necessary expense to build your network or project success. You might genuinely believe you can out-earn the damage. Let's strip away the emotion. Let's look at the actual blood running down the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has no feelings. It does not care about your carefully curated aesthetic, the brand of watch on your wrist, or the incredibly stressful week you just survived at the office. It only understands addition, subtraction, and the brutal, unforgiving gravity of compound interest. Let's look at the actual numbers Ethan is generating to maintain his illusion. He signed a 72-month contract for that electric SUV. His monthly payment is $1,200. But the bank isn't stupid. They require premium comprehensive insurance to protect their asset, pushing his actual monthly bleed to a flat $1,500. He is injecting $18,000 a year into a heavy piece of metal that sits idle in a concrete parking garage for 22 hours a day. Society operates on a very simple, highly predatory mechanic. It relies entirely on the mathematical illiteracy of the working class. If the education system actually sat students down and explained the opportunity cost of vanity, the mass luxury sector would completely collapse by next Tuesday. Let's apply the lens of opportunity cost to Ethan's desperate need for validation. What happens if you take that exact same $1,500 a month, the vanity tax, and hide it? What if, instead of handing it over to a European car manufacturer to lease your social status, you deploy it quietly into a broad market index fund returning a historic 8%? Over the course of 25 years, that monthly car payment doesn't just grow, it mutates. It becomes $1.4 million in liquid, untethered capital. Burn this into your brain. Ethan did not buy an $85,000 vehicle. He willfully set fire to $1.4 million of his own future freedom. Also, a complete stranger at a traffic light would look at him for exactly 3 seconds before the light turns green. He bought his own financial execution, and he financed the blade. Phase 3. The arithmetic of invisibility. While the premium broke consumer is drowning in the shallow end of the pool, the actual millionaire is operating in total silence. The guy in the 10-year-old Japanese sedan isn't driving that car because he lacks the credit score to upgrade. He is driving it because he understands the supreme power of keeping his capital deployed in the dark. He takes that $1,500 difference every single month and buys the market. He isn't buying stitched leather and polished chrome. He is buying pieces of the actual corporations that enslave the middle class. He literally owns the index that holds the company that manufactured Ethan's overpriced jacket. The consumer debt maze is perfectly engineered to transfer wealth from the loud to the quiet. Every time the aspirational spender swipes his credit card to feel important, he is running furiously on the wheel, generating the quarterly corporate profits that pay out dividends to the invisible investor standing right behind him in the checkout line. The system is a casino, and the people trying to look rich are the tourists mindlessly feeding the slot machines. The people who actually have wealth own the casino floor. But the math gets even darker when you look at what happens to the physical objects you just traded your life for. Phase 4. The depreciation guillotine. You aren't just fighting the lost opportunity of your capital. You are actively being hunted by the decay of the objects themselves. That vehicle loses 20% of its perceived value the absolute second the tires hit the public asphalt. The minimalist clothing lines become aesthetically obsolete by the next season. The flagship smartphone requires a mandatory hardware upgrade every 12 months just to keep up with the intentional software bloat. The machine forces you to constantly update the bars of your cage. If you stop spending, the illusion immediately shatters. You become trapped in a suffocating cycle of infinite refinancing just to maintain the baseline of a fabricated identity. You have to keep pedaling the bicycle, or you fall over. If Ethan loses his corporate job on a Tuesday afternoon, by Thursday morning, he is staring into the abyss of total ruin. His net worth is nothing but a fragile house of cards, held together by high-interest credit lines and severe anxiety. He traded the ultimate human privilege, the ability to look the world in the eye and say no, for a panoramic sunroof. The terminal diagnosis is clear. The math is unapologetic. You are bleeding out. But there is a way to unplug the machine and disappear from the radar entirely. You just have to be willing to do the one thing society actively begs you not to do. Society demands your participation. The entire global economy relies on your deep-seated fear of being perceived as inadequate. They need you to feel poor, so you will willingly spend money you don't have just to look rich. So, how do you escape the extraction? You do the one thing the algorithm cannot process. You embrace total social irrelevance. Phase 5. The Camouflage Protocol. In the year 2026, the highest tier of wealth is not loudly displayed. It is fiercely protected. The individuals who actually possess liquid capital have executed a masterclass in behavioral economics. They don't look poor because they are cheap. They look poor because they understand that an ordinary aesthetic is the ultimate socio-economic shield. When you drive a scratched, decade-old sedan and wear a plain cotton t-shirt, you become invisible to the predators. The premium salesmen don't circle you. The opportunistic relatives don't ask for seed money. The targeted advertising algorithm can't categorize your spending habits to feed you predatory interest rates. You are no longer a walking profit margin on their radar. You are a ghost. Imagine the psychological baseline of a man who owes nothing to anyone. When the economy dips, when the corporate layoffs are announced on a Friday afternoon, when the inflation numbers spike, the premium broke panic. Their entire fabricated reality threatens to collapse in real time. But the man in the camouflage protocol, he feels a profound, untouchable calm. He isn't over-leveraged on a depreciating piece of metal. His peace of mind is bulletproof because it is anchored in mathematics, not aesthetics. The ultimate flex in a world obsessed with broadcasting success is the quiet, terrifying power of having nothing to prove and everything to leverage. Let the premium broke crowd have their fleeting moment in the sun. Let Ethan swipe his heavy card and sweat through the night worrying about his next massive payment. While he is desperately running on the wheel, burning his finite energy to secure a tiny piece of digital cheese, you are quietly buying the laboratory. The debt matrix is perfectly designed to extract wealth from the loud and transfer it directly into the portfolios of the quiet. To exit the rat race, you have to completely sever your ego from your consumption. You must find profound, almost arrogant satisfaction in being underestimated by strangers. Let the valet look down on you. Let the cashier assume you are struggling. Their perception of you has zero impact on the compounding rate of your index funds. Their judgment does not pay your property taxes, and their approval will absolutely never fund your freedom. You have to shift your entire definition of winning. Winning isn't upgrading your cage with a panoramic sunroof. Winning is dismantling the bars entirely. When you stop bleeding your cash flow to lease a fake identity, your money finally has the opportunity to do its actual job, buying back your life hour by hour, day by day. You transition from a desperate consumer to a silent owner. You stop renting your lifestyle and start owning your existence. This is exactly why real millionaires look poor in 2026, because they traded the loud, stressful, hyper-visible performance of wealth for the quiet, unshakable reality of freedom. They bought their own irrelevance, and it was the greatest investment they ever made. The door is open, but you have to walk through it without your ego. If you still need the shiny object to feel important, keep scrolling. The machine is waiting to finance your next mistake. But if you are ready to disappear from the trap and build real equity in the dark, hit the like button, subscribe, and join the ones who actually escaped. And if you made it to the very end of this blueprint, drop a comment saying, "Titanium Mousetrap." The loud crowd won't understand it, but we will know exactly who is operating in the shadows. My name is Daniel Rath, and I'll see you outside the maze.